Come on a trip into town with me and 3 of our shelter puppies. The pups in our shelter are definitely the most time and resource consuming when it comes to their training and socialisation, but as a shelter we're always learning and trying to set our dogs up for a successful future. This trip I was taking Dicey, Daisy and Archer into town, so I loaded them up into the Land Rover in their crates and we set off. The journey into town is quite windy and bumpy, so try and take it as steady as possible to prevent any anxiety or travel sickness. This area is where we usually start our walks, which is great because there's cars running through, people walking around, but there's also enough space to create distance if needed. So first up was Daisy. I got her out, put the slip lead on, and then I let her jump down as she was happy to do so. Each of our puppies' training in town will really vary. With Daisy, she's already pretty confident, so we worked on the more novelty things around town. She was apprehensive of this noisy children's machine because it had children screaming inside, so we stopped near to it. I asked her to sit, which is a cue that she's really confident with, and every time she engaged with me, I rewarded her. Daisy's next challenge was a really noisy fan, so again we took on the challenge and practiced walking around the fan and then sitting really closely to it. She did really well with this, especially with the man in the distance watching. And then next we did a bit of counter conditioning to passing traffic. So we finished this session off sat at a distance from the main road in town. She'd done really well today and I didn't want to push her too far, so gave a bit of distance between the busy road and lots of reinforcement, rewarding her every time that she engaged with the traffic and then engaged back with me. So back went Daisy into the Land Rover, and next up it was Dicey's turn. His walk was focused mainly on rehearsing his loose lead walking and building his general confidence in town. Not long into his walk though, there was an electric wheelchair which we had to walk past, which was a really great training opportunity because it was noisy and something he's probably never seen before. So he did really well with that. And then after that there was a lady that he wasn't that sure about that was pulling wheelie bins and sorting out rubbish in town. So we walked close to her for a while. And his final challenge of his trip into town was this off-lead dog. At this point I thought she was owned and just off-lead, so that was a great training opportunity for me to practice advocating for him whilst he's on lead and a friendly jumpy dog comes over. So after that I popped him back in the car and then it was finally Archer's turn. It was quite tricky to get him out because he was in the back. So Archer's training was focused on neutrality around new people. However, we did have a good opportunity with this reactive dog to practice being neutral as well. Unfortunately, Archer's session was cut short though because the dog that I thought was just an off-lead dog in town actually turned out to be an abandoned dog. So we loaded her up into the Land Rover to take her back to the shelter, and Archer had a nice comfy ride home in the front.